But ultimately, I think that Africa needs to learn from China, from Korea, from Iran, and from Russia, who first had these beautiful revolutions that commanded the respect. Then they developed their militaries, they developed nuclear bombs, they developed all these sorts of things. And then
look, everything that he's saying, he's absolutely right. And I just pray that as African people, we will listen to him. At least this is a European American speaking. This is not me speaking. This is not Dr. Arikana speaking. This is not Professor Lumumba speaking. This is not any African speaking. This is a European American speaking. At least I hope we will listen to him, because everything he's saying, we have been calling for this. We have been saying this for many years, that without military power, we should forget about economic success. Because even if you successfully build an economy, the colonial criminals, the imperialists will come in and destroy it, just as they did in Libya. Libya was one of the best places to live during the time of Gaddafi. What did they do? They went in and destroyed Libya.
African and Muslim nations will adopt. Although he had this in mind, he felt it could be some sort of rivalry with the euro and dollars. How the United States got to know about the gold dinar. A senior advisor to the United States President, Sidney Blumenthal, indicated to his Secretary General, Hillary Clinton, through an email that Gaddafi's government was holding 143 tons of gold and similar amounts of silver in their bank. In late March 2011, these stocks were taken to the southwest direction of Libya's border with Niger and Chad. More heat was added to the matter when former French President Nicolas Sarkozy, who also had interest in Libya, learned about the gold and silver that the country had. He also therefore embarked on attacking Libya. Some of Sarkozy's plans was to gain a share in Libyan oil production, to increase their French influence in this country and North Africa, to improve his internal political situation in France, to provide the French military with a chance to regain its position in the world, and to address Gaddafi's plans of freeing the so-called Francophone Africa from the parasitic French control. Hillary Clinton, the then United States Secretary of State, after hearing this, sought to prevent creation of such a currency in Africa. This hard currency would have allowed Africa to shake off the last heavy chains of colonial exploitation in the continent. The allegedly leaked email of Hillary Clinton had far-reaching implications on the fluid state of post-colonial relations with the West. If this is to be likened to something, then it is an eye-opener. Where Africa seeks to build an independent economic structure, the West is seen to try and derail those plans so as to retain its primacy in world affairs.
They know that Africa cannot defend Libya. We all heard what President Museveni said. When African leaders wanted to go to Libya, what did they tell them? They told them to go and sit down. How? Because they know we don't have the military might to open our mouth and talk. So we can talk about Agenda 2063. We can talk about whatever we want to achieve, the African Union. If we don't have the military power to defend whatever we want to achieve, even if we successfully achieve that, the imperialists will come in and destroy it. I want us to go and listen to him. I'm sure most of you might have listened to what he's, might have seen this video, but I want us to revisit it, come back and talk about it. But before we do that, as usual, I'm calling on every African who is watching this, every black person who is watching this. If you are coming across us for the first time, please don't hesitate to support our mission. How do you support us is by subscribing or sharing what we are doing. Just share it. Subscribe. If you are watching, like it, try to like it. Many people are watching, 20-30 people, but not liking it. Please like it. It helps us a lot, because we heard that by sharing it also, Facebook or YouTube will open it up for other people to see. So please, if you appreciate what we are doing, it is not easy, then please support our mission. Let us all together fight for a unified, dignified Africa for the next generation of Africans. I am telling you, everything that we are doing, if we don't achieve in uniting the continent of Africa, 200-300 years to come, the Europeans will continue to dictate the future of Africa for us. And it's going to be hell for us, just as it is today. So I thank you very much. Let's go listen to him, come back and talk about it.
But ultimately, I think that Africa needs to learn from China, from Korea, from Iran, and from Russia, who first had these beautiful revolutions that commanded the respect. Then they developed their militaries, they developed nuclear bombs, they developed all these sorts of things, and then they built their economies. We're sitting here and we're talking about being in the United Nations, having a rotating seat in the United Nations Security Council. We're talking about the economic plans of Africa in the future, new currencies, African Union. All of that doesn't mean a whole lot if the West is going to come in and trample all over you. What good is a seat at the United Nations if they're not going to listen to you? The United States has to listen to China. They have to listen to Russia because China and Russia have a bunch of nuclear bombs that are already pointed at every Western city. Now, of course, I support Africa having nuclear bombs. I understand we're far away from that, and maybe it's a bit controversial to say that. I think the West needs to get very worried about the potential for Africa to assert its own sovereignty and command respect in the same way that we're seeing in the new Confederation states, but all across Africa. And maybe it only starts with one or two nations. So I think the question of military power is extremely important, and it actually comes before the question of economic power or trade routes or currencies or any of these things. So I hope to see more bold leadership. So I hope in my lifetime, I'll end here, that we'll see a nuclear Africa. We're already seeing Russia. Rosatom is talking about bringing nuclear reactors into Burkina Faso, but I hope one day it's nuclear bomb.
You know, everything that he's saying, I just wish that, like Africans, we will do it. Because the thing is, we wake up, we sit down, and other people are dictating to us as to what they want to do to us. We want to give you 2 permanent seats at the United Nations. When they asked the lady, but with a veto power, they said we cannot. Like, how dare them to decide that they want to give us 2 permanent seats, rotating permanent seats, but with no veto power? What good is that? As he said, the United States, they have to listen to China or Russia because they know what China possesses and what Russia possesses. How can 54 states does not have anything to defend the continent of Africa? How? You know, sometimes it's so annoying. But at least this is coming from a white person, a European American. And it's very good. Everything that he's saying is a fact. What good is this? You can talk of agenda this, African Union want to do this, African Union want to do that. At the end of the day, if you don't have the military might, the nuclear weapons, if you don't have it, the Europeans and the Americans, the imperialists, they will come and destroy whatever you are building. And the facts are there. History will tell us the people we are dealing with. If you go on the comment section, you will hear people, Africans saying, oh, we are not destructive people. We are not like this. Africans are not. We are not like that. That is a fact. But our mindset is not the same mindset that the colonizers have. We may have different thinking, but for them, their reality is that for them, they believe in domination and destruction. If they cannot dominate you, then they will destroy you. That is what they believe in, the DD, domination and destruction. If they cannot dominate you, they will destroy you. So if we are not building uniting to build our military might, then we should forget about economic success, because whatever we will build in the future, they will come in, just as he rightly said, and destroy it. And they are not hiding it from us. We all heard a French general talking about preparing for a future war against Africa. After everything that they have done for us, they still think that they have to prepare, because one day, because if they don't take time, one day French children will be going to Africa to become slaves. Just as
the following video contains a statement made by General Lecointe pertaining to the proposed military recolonization of Africa. The video is in French, however. A translated version is provided for clarity. What is our common destiny as Europeans is the Mediterranean and Africa, where our destiny is at stake. And so we, the French, have constantly tried to train the Europeans in this awareness of the need to act collectively in Africa and the Mediterranean. And I am absolutely sorry to see the failure of our commitments to the Sahel. And I think that in any case, we will have to ask ourselves the question, because we cannot imagine having at our doors an entire continent that is plunging into the destruction of government and state apparatus, plunging into a form of civil war chaos in many countries and more countries, in difficulties that are linked to climate change, which are even more dramatic on vulnerable populations, such as African populations. In addition, a continent that is going to experience a demographic explosion like no other continent has ever experienced. And so imagine that this is happening here in the next 10 to 20 years, and that it will have no consequences on Europe because we live in a kind of bubble protected by I don't know what else. It is simply unconscious. And so I think that this common interest should one day make Europe decide to act as a political entity that will defend its own interests, including by means of the commitment of its armies. The withdrawal of the Sahel was difficult to accept for all those who were involved. I am the first to have a lot of trouble swallowing that. It is a French, European, and African failure, which mainly stems from what we have not understood, which is that the action should be a global action. The restoration of the state, the return of the administrations, the return of development. And if we cannot do all this simultaneously and in a coordinated way, we will fail. That's what happened. What I have trouble swallowing is when I am told that it is the failure of a military operation. The reality is that it is not the failure of a military operation. The military operation was a dimension. I am convinced that in a few years, I don't know if it is 10 years or less or more, we will have the obligation to return and help these African countries.
You see the kind of mindset they have? So these are people that you are dealing with. And then you have to, the only language that they listen to is language of violence. We may not be violent people, but that is the people we are dealing with. The only language that they understand is language of violence. So even if you don't want to attack them, then build yourself, prepare yourself for defense. In case they want to attack you, they know that they are dealing with fire. And we have everything to do that. We have the brains, we have the manpower, we have the resources. All the nuclear bombs that they are building and all that, the atomic bombs, whatever bombs, they are getting the minerals from the continent of Africa. They are getting it from us. So what is stopping us from also building our own, not to destroy, but just to defend? And just as he said, he acknowledged that what our leaders in the Sahel are doing is the right way. And that is a fact. What our leaders in the Sahel are doing, the so-called democratic leaders may claim that they are not democratic, but that is what we want. Build your military, get ready, and then build your economy. You are not building the military to attack nobody, but you are building your military to defend your economy. Whatever economic success you will chalk, there will be a military to defend it. If not, we should forget it. If not, we should forget it, because at the end of the day, the imperialists, if they began to realize that we have becoming a serious competitors, they will declare war against us. And there's nothing we can do about it. We all see what is happening, terrorists, blah, blah, blah. It's all instigated by them. It's all instigated by them. What an insult it is that when they were attacking Libya, African Union wanted to send African leaders, just as President Museveni said. African Union wanted to send African leaders to negotiate, and the Europeans tell them to go and sit down.
In the end, we made peace with the Gaddafi, and he had his issues, he had his ideas. Sometimes we would agree with him, sometimes we would not agree with him. Now, when this problem of Libya started, the African Union, with our chairman, who is here now, this gentleman here, they formed a committee of a few of us. I think we were 6. I was one of them. The whole of the African Union gave that committee a mandate to look for a solution for the Libyan problem. Now, on one occasion, I didn't go that time. These excellencies, this one here, Jacob Zuma, and the others, I was not there, but my minister was among them. They entered a plane in Nouakchott in his place. They were going to Libya to mediate. And they were told by NATO to go back. Yes. Said, you go back. Yes, he's here. If I'm telling lies, I'm not the one who invited him, you're the one who invited him. African presidents on an African mission over African soil were ordered by NATO to go back. That NATO has not allowed them to land in Libya. Now, we call this in Swahili, dharau, contempt. This is contempt. So now you can weigh yourselves now. Your presidents were ordered by NATO. 6 of them, not one. If it was only 7, maybe you could say. Six excellencies, African excellencies, were ordered, go back. Over Africa. Now, these fellows didn't listen to us. They continued. They killed Gaddafi. Now Libya is in tatters.
Children, because they know you don't have the military might to defend anything, to defend yourself. That is an insult to us. And then if we, this generation of Africans, I don't know what else can we say. If we want to bring an end to this, you think what, you're wondering why the whole world, nobody don't respect us. At least for once, let us unite and demand for our dignity. Let us for once unite the continent of Africa and demand for our unity. Imagine if we can build a military might and then we can build nuclear weapons, atomic bombs, blah, blah weapons, and then station some in West Africa, some in Central Africa, some in East Africa, some in South Africa, in North Africa. I don't know about North Africa. Maybe our northern brothers may use it against us because sometimes we don't really know their position. But some in North Africa, you think any country can point their filthy fingers on our face? Nobody. But because we don't have that they got militarily, you're gonna see France, a small country like France, dictating the future of Africa. Who should be African Union chairperson? France will dictate for us. And Britain will come and tell us who should be the president of Nigeria. Portugal will decide who should be the president of Mozambique. All this insult that they are insulting on us, they are insulting us is because they know militarily we cannot stand them. That is a fact. So if we want to be seen as serious competitors on this planet Earth, then we must have the military might. And that is exactly what he's telling us. That is exactly what, and thank God, is coming from the mouth of a European American. At least we have been saying this. And that is it. We have been saying this. And nobody will care to listen to us. But today, a European American is saying the same thing that we have been saying. What good is this? That you're talking about Agenda 2063, agenda this, agenda that, when you don't have the military might to defend whatever you want to build in the future. We should know that we are dealing with people who doesn't listen to anything but violence. That is unfortunately, that is the people we are dealing with. I'm telling you, they would have destroyed China if China didn't have nuclear weapons to defend whatever economic success that they are choking. They would have destroyed China. They are not joking. And if any African country decide to build your economy, that would be a serious competitor to Europe or America. Without military power to defend that, then forget it. All this small GDP, blah, blah, this and that, it is because it cannot compete with the Europeans and the Americans. Let tomorrow West Africa or Central Africa or East Africa will come together and build the continental trade, whatever it is, that would bring more economic advantages to the continent of Africa. They will attack us in a way that we will live to regret it. And they are not hiding it from us. As I said, a French general was talking about that. So if we really want to be seen as serious competitors on this planet Earth, then we must build a strong military. How do we do that? We can only do that by uniting the continent of Africa. We cannot do that still living on this or respecting this Berlin Petition of Africa. You think they petition Africa among themselves for no reason? It was to keep us at the bottom of the human race. And whether we like it or not, Africa is at the bottom. We can rise and demand for our dignity and respect. That is if only we will unite the continent of Africa. Our dignity will come from that. That is why we are here, One Africa Mission. So please, if you appreciate what we are doing, and if you really think that Africa, the children of Africa deserve a better life, deserve a dignified life, then let us all bring our energies together and fight for a united, dignified Africa. For the next generation of Africans, we can't talk, but action speak louder than words. Let's take actions. Let's put our words into action. Please support our mission. How do you support us? I keep reminding you. It's just by sharing what we are doing, by liking it, and also by passing your comments. You can share. You can support us financially, no problem. But all that we are asking you, we are pleading with you is to like it, share it, and then also subscribe. That is it. It is difficult traveling around the continent of Africa. Me and you know that. It is all a design. What can we do to stop that? European children have the opportunity, the privilege to travel around the world. How can me and you not do that? For you to travel from Nigeria to Ethiopia, it's so difficult. For you to travel from Ghana to Namibia, it's so difficult. For you to travel from Namibia to Burkina Faso, it's so difficult. Europeans don't face the same challenges. Why? We can also do something about that. Let us enjoy the beauty of Africa. How can we do that? If we don't unite the continent of Africa, it is only unity that can give us that opportunity and privilege to also enjoy our continent just as other people are enjoying their continent. But before we will do that, we must build a strong military. We can only build a strong military by uniting the continent of Africa. So please support our mission. Let us get into evangelism. We have been to some few African countries. We determined to continue with our mission of a united Africa. So please support our mission. Whether you are in the Caribbean, you are in America, as long as you are a melanated person, even if you are in China, Aboriginals of Australia, support a dignified Africa, because your dignity will come from Africa. If Africa regain back her dignity, all her children, melanated people all over the world, will also have their dignity. So please support our mission. Let us fight for a united Africa. Thank you very much.